Hello everyone, my name is Ms. Vinny Sharma. I am an assistant professor at Galgotias University for Forensic Science. Welcome to EPG Pathshala. In this module, we will be dealing with the 10-digit classification system as given by Mr. Edward Richard Henry, and then the process of comparison of the scene of crime prints with the standard prints. The Henry's system of 10-digit classification is divided into primary, secondary, subsecondary and final. In this module, you will be able to understand how the fingerprints slips are being numbered, how the fingers are given numbers and what is their name, the detailed explanation of Henry's 10-digit classification system, the basis of comparison of fingerprints, and then a brief introduction about the process of comparison of fingerprints. A 10-digit fingerprint slip is a standard fingerprint slip which is considered when we are taking the standard prints of an individual. This 10-digit fingerprint slip is characterized by the presence of the space given for the rolled and plain fingerprint impressions. By plain impressions, we mean that the fingerprints are slapped perpendicularly on this inking slab and then on the fingerprint slip in the same manner. By rolled impression, we mean that the fingers are rotated from nail to nail, from left to right direction in order to obtain the ink impression. These rolled impressions are widened and provides a detailed account of the fingerprints. The plain impression, whereas, are small in width and are used for the matching of the sequence of rolled prints obtained earlier of the same individual. The 10-digit fingerprint slip has got the specific position for particular fingers. The fingerprint slip at the top has got the detailed demographic data to be collected by the investigator of the individual whose fingerprints are being taken. Apart from that, the fingerprint slip has got 5 different columns in 2 rows in which the positions of the fingers to be taken for rolled impression is placed on. The positions are in the order right thumb, right index, right middle, right ring, right little, followed by left thumb, left index, left middle, left ring and left little fingers. The Henry's system of classification is, in order to obtain the Henry's system of classification of fingerprints, this fingerprint slip has to be characterized and analyzed in details to get the information on the basis of the 4 different systems, that is the primary system of classification, the secondary system of classification, the subsecondary system of classification and the final system of classification. Now, moving on to the detailed knowledge of the system of classifications. The primary system of classification is devised by grouping the patterns into 2 different groups, that is the valued patterns and the non-valued patterns. The valued patterns are those patterns which are given certain numerical values and whose value is considered while calculating the fraction for the primary classification, whereas the non-valued patterns are those patterns whose numerical value is not considered while calculating the fraction of primary classification. Valued patterns are basically the patterns whorl and composites, whereas the non-valued patterns are arches and loop. Before moving on further, The naming and the numerical value assigned to the fingers are needed to be explained. The fingers are given numbers in the order starting from 1 to 10, with 1 being right thumb and 10 being left little. 1 is right thumb, 2 right index, 3 right middle, 4 right ring, 5 right little, 6 left thumb, 7 left index, 8 left middle, 9 left ring and 10 left little. After numbering them in Roman numbers, these fingers are given numerical values. These 10 fingers are then further grouped into 5 pairs of 2 each, and each pair is given the value as pair 1, that is right thumb, right index, the value is 16, pair 2, right middle, right ring, the value is 8, pair 3, right little, left thumb, value is 4, pair 4, left index, left middle, the value is 2, pair 5, left ring and left little, the value is 1. For determining the primary classification, the formula which is being used is the sum of even number of fingers divided by sum of odd number of fingers plus 1 in each numerator and denominator. The fraction thus obtained is kept as such and is not further divided. The maximum value which can be attained while using the primary classification is 32 by 32 and the minimum value is 1 by 1. The 32 by 32 value can only be achieved when all the 10 digit of fingers are having valued patterns on them. That is, either they are having whorl or composite patterns. The value 1 by 1 is obtained when the fingers are having the non-valued patterns, that is arches or loops. Repeating once again, the formula on which the primary classification is obtained is the sum of numerical values of valued patterns of even number of fingers plus 1 upon sum of the sum of the odd number of fingers plus 1. The second classification in this Henry system of classification is termed as secondary classification. In this classification system, only the index fingers of both right and left hands are considered. In this classification, the pattern type of right index upon the pattern type of left index is written in the symbol order. That is, when the plain arch is obtained, the symbol is capital A. When tented arch is there, the symbol is capital D. When radial loop is there, the symbol is capital R. When ulnar loop is there, the symbol is capital U. When whorl is there, the symbol is W. The formula can be represented as the pattern of right index upon pattern of left index. The third classification system in Henry's system of classification is sub-secondary classification. The sub-secondary classification system is basically represented by the symbols I, M or O. These symbols are the representatives of ridge tracing. And these symbols are given to the index, middle and ring finger of both left and right hand respectively. To make up the numerator, the index, middle and ring finger of the right hand are present, and for the denominator, same fingers of left hand are considered. When the whorl patterns are present, ridge tracing for index, middle and ring finger becomes easy. But when the fingers are having loop patterns, then the ridge tracing is not possible. In place of that, the authors have devised another formula That is, in case of loops, the ridge count is considered. For index finger, if the ridge count is from 1 to 5, it is being given the category I. When the ridge count is from 6 to 12, it is given the category M, and when the ridge count is 13 or above, the category is O. Similarly, for middle finger, 1 to 6 ridge count means I, 7 to 13 ridge count means M, 14 and above ridge count means O. For ring finger, 1 to 7 ridge count means I, 8 to 14 ridge count means M, and 15 and above ridge count means O. When writing the formula of subsecondary classification, the formula is devised into a fraction form by writing the ridge tracing in the IMO form or ridge counting in IMO form of right index, right middle, right ring in the numerator and left index, left middle and left ring in the denominator. The last category for the Henry system of classification is the final classification. The final classification is not a fraction but merely a number which denotes the actual ridge count of the pattern present on the little finger of right hand. The formula for final classification is the ridge count of right little. Summarizing the Henry's system of classification in one go, we would say that the Henry system of classification was devised by Edward Richard Henry with the help of two Bengali Indian officers, Sir Hem Chandra Bose and Azizul Khan. The Henry system of classification is characterized into four different systems: the primary system, the secondary system, the subsecondary system and the final system. In the primary system, all the 10 fingers are considered, whereas in the secondary system, only the index finger of right and the left hand are considered. For the subsecondary system, the index, middle and ring finger of both the hands is considered, and for the final system, only right little finger is considered. All these four formulas are being devised in the form of fractions, each being a representative of its own kind. The primary classification system gives us around 1024 different possible combinations. The secondary system provides us 25 different combinations. The subsecondary system is considering the index, middle and ring finger, provides us many different possible combinations, whereas the final classification in itself is a identical different number of the classification system. The fraction thus obtained by primary, secondary, subsecondary and final classification is written in one single line on the top of the fingerprint slip to be used for filing and recording the fingerprint slip thus obtained. After obtaining the 10-digit fingerprint slip, the process of comparison starts. And the process of comparison, basically the first step that one has to be doing is obtaining the suspect prints from the scene of crime and then obtaining the standard prints from the records, or standard prints of the suspects are being taken in the presence of an officer of court. As the second step for the process of comparison, the general and individual fingerprint characteristics are matched and compared. When the general and individual fingerprint characteristics are compared on, it is necessary for the expert to start the process of elimination. For comparing the individual characteristic, in India a minimum of 8 ridge characteristics are to be matched in the juxtapositioning of both the suspect and the standard prints. After obtaining the general and individual characteristics, the final opinion regarding the print is given in the form of a report. Suspect prints are those prints whose identity is unknown or those prints which are found from the scene of crime, whereas standard prints are those prints whose identity is known and they are obtained from the 10-digit fingerprint slip. Once these prints are obtained by an expert, this process of fingerprint comparison starts. The process of fingerprint comparison is generally a process of elimination. When an expert is provided with a number of suspect prints and a number of standard prints to be matched along with, the expert job is to start comparing the general characteristics, that is the type of core, type of delta, pattern type, ridge count, ridge tracing, then eliminating the standard prints one by one whose general characteristics are not matching with that of the suspect prints. When the process of comparison starts, the pattern type of the suspect and the standard print is compared first hand. All those prints which are not having the same pattern types in the standards are eliminated. After that, the type of core and the type of delta are identified in the suspect prints and same are matched with the remaining standard prints. These remaining standard prints are then further narrowed down on the basis of the type of core and type of delta as found in the suspect prints. The remaining patterns are further narrowed on the basis of ridge count or ridge tracing. Ridge count and ridge tracing help the expert to not only narrow the list of the standard prints but also to devise the Henry's system of classification for the suspect print. Once all the observed prints which are having the similar general characteristics are collected together, the suspect prints are then compared with for the individual characteristics. Firstly, the expert identifies 8 different ridge characteristics on the suspect prints. This number 8 is a minimum number required by the law in our country, that is in India. In case of the matching of individual characteristic of the suspect and the standard prints, these 8 characteristics are exactly located similarly in the standard prints on the same ridge, at the same position, at the same ridge count. When the expert is able to find all these 8 points in the both suspect and standard prints, then he or she gives an opinion about the 100% match of these fingerprint slips. Summarizing the process of comparison. The process of comparison involves a process which is termed as the process of elimination. In this process, a number of standard fingerprint slips are collected upon and then compared with the suspect print. In this process, step-by-step elimination of standard slips happen, and then the remaining final slips are matched for the individual characteristics in the same exact position as that found on the suspect print. As the first step of elimination, the pattern type is identified and the fingerprint slips are removed one by one with those not matching with the same pattern type as that of the suspect print. As the second step of elimination, the fingerprint slips are eliminated on the basis of the type of core and the type of delta present in the standard slips. As a third step, ridge counting and ridge tracing forms the basis of elimination. As the fourth step and the final step, the individual characteristics are matched upon and then the final opinion is given. The process of comparison not only involves the elimination, but it also involves the process in which a fingerprint has to be recognized about the species and gender of the individual whose fingerprint is obtained. The recognition involves the identification of whether the print is of a human or not. Number 2, the process in which a gender can be narrowed down, that is whether the print belongs to a male or a female. As a third step, the fingerprints are further identified, the suspect prints mainly, they are further identified for the presence of the finger type, that is to which finger does that fingerprint belong, whether it is of left hand or right hand, whether it is a thumb impression, it is an index finger impression, it is a middle finger impression, it is a ring finger impression, or it is the little finger impression. To recognize these characteristics in a fingerprint, an expertise knowledge is required. Generally, the ridge density forms the basis of the identification of the gender. The print size forms the basis of the identification of species, and the positioning of the finger bulb is responsible for identifying whether it belongs to right hand or left hand. Summarizing the entire module, I would like to say that the fingerprints impressions are found on the anterior surface of the skin. These are the most common evidences that are found at the scene of crime. A 10-digit fingerprint slip is considered for obtaining the standard fingerprints of an individual. The Henry system of classification is relied on for the classifying, for recording, for obtaining the searching, for filing the records of fingerprints of not only the culprits but also the individuals who were suspected of their involvement in certain crimes. The Henry system of classification involves determining the primary, secondary, sub-secondary and final classification. The main purpose is to maintain the records of the fingerprint slips. The primary system of classification involves obtaining a fraction in which the valued patterns present on the even number of fingers is kept in the numerator and the valued patterns of the odd number of fingers are kept in the denominator. Both the numerator and the denominator is added to 1 and 1. The fraction thus obtained provides a number of combinations. These number of combinations is generally 1024. The secondary system of classification revolves around the pattern type of right index and the pattern type of the left index. They are generally classified into 5 major categories, giving us the possible number of combination as 25. Whereas the sub-secondary classification revolves around the pattern types of index, middle and ring finger. The sub-secondary classification involves the ridge tracing in case of whorls and ridge counting in case of loops to obtain a alphabetical fraction in I, M and O order. For final classification, the ridge count of the right little finger is considered. In the end, when all the 4 classification systems are obtained, it is being written in a single line with commas in between as Henry system of classification equals to primary system, comma, secondary system, comma, sub-secondary system, comma, final system of classification. The process of comparison of fingerprints involves the comparing of suspect and the standard prints. The process is a process of elimination, in which the elimination occurs on relying on the similarities of general characteristics such as the core, delta, ridge tracing, ridge counting and pattern type, and the final matching is done by exactly matching the location of 8 different ridge characteristics exactly same in the suspect and the standard print. The final report is given on the basis of the identification of these 8 ridge characteristics, and once the report is made, the report is given as either a 100% match or a no match. There is generally no report given as an approximate match of the fingerprints. Thank you.